Hello, hello, hello. Good morning. Welcome to Cars and Coffee with Kenny Brown Show. We are simulcasting live on both the Kenny Brown Performance Facebook page and as well as the Kenny Brown Performance YouTube channel. So many of you are joining us from both locations or one or the other. We welcome you. Today we have a great lineup. We have Donald Farr, Mustang author, writer, and editor extraordinaire. He has many stories to share. I'm sure most of you in the audience know who he is. He's been in the industry forever, and he's very well published as well. We also, Kenny's going to be talking about the Triple Pass radiator, and then we're going to have Rich step in and talk about the Fox Body Triple Pass radiator that we just came out with. So that will be interesting. And this week's giveaway is a print, a Kenny Brown S550 concept print. We have both this one, the street version, and the track version. So we'll have one lucky winner win one of them, and you'll get to choose once you win. So what you need to put in the comments to win is a Kenny Brown concept S550. I'll make it complicated. Kenny Brown S550. Let's put that in there. And we are going to start out right now. Let's see who's here first. Dylan, I wanted to let you know that your name came up before we even went live with the show. So it's a good morning from North Dakota. That is so cool. And we have Jorge here, Tim Allen. We have Fox Body FX. That's Lance. If you haven't been to his channel yet, you need to join in on that. It's Fox Body FX on Instagram, on Facebook. Also, he has a great YouTube channel that he's been working on, and he has a weekly podcast. And I'm going to be on that probably next week or the following week, and we'll let you know when I'll be interviewed on his show. Let's see, we have, looks like Brian West from Clinton, Michigan. Wow, we have lots of people, Southeast Louisiana. Boy, lots of people coming in, and we are going to start the show right now. I will be, again, if you're joining us, we have Donald Farr on. We'll be interviewing him as our special guest, and we have our Triple Pass radiator Kenny's going to talk about. So, Brad, do you want to bring that on?
Yeah. You want me to do any housekeeping beforehand,
yes,
or you want to show the
why
video?
don't you do some housekeeping? People love when we do housekeeping. So go ahead.
Okay. So one really important thing is Facebook has changed some of their permissions for privacy. And if you're viewing on this Kenny Brown Speed Therapy Society Facebook group page, we may not be able to see your name if you leave a comment, particularly to enter the contest. If you want to enter the contest, the best thing to do is view the show and leave your comment from the regular Kenny Brown Performance Facebook page. That's the main page, or on YouTube. We can still see most of the comments that come through if you're viewing on the Speed Therapy Society group page. But again, we can't see the name in many cases unless you provide specific permission. And in some cases, I found on the last show, we were not able to see the comments either. So this is very important for the people who are entering into to win the lithographs. Be sure that we can see your name. If you're viewing on YouTube, please be sure to give us a thumbs up, like the video. Be sure to subscribe to our page. Once you're subscribed, you can click the little bell to receive notifications. That's always a handy thing if you want to stay up to date with what we're doing. If you're viewing on Facebook, Kenny used to love the heart-shaped wrenches, as he called them. So give us a like, give us a heart-shaped wrench. You can also share the video if you're viewing live. You can just click the share button. You can share it to your favorite group. You can share it to your own page. And so from a social media standpoint, those are all great ways to stay in touch. If you're not a member of the Kenny Brown Speed Therapy Society Facebook group, be sure that you join. It's easy. We post a lot of different things there. It's a discussion group as well. And so I think that's it. Carrie, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to go to a video of Kenny talking about, this is a tech video that's on our YouTube channel, where he talks about the triple pass radiator, and then we'll bring Rich in to do a little live show and tell in the studio. All right, so here we go, folks.
First of all, look how thick that is. I mean, that's really, really thick. But the real beauty of our triple pass is the triple pass. Now you can see, this is the inlet. This is on the passenger side. You can see this little weld down here. So that represents the first segment. So water would flow all the way across to here. It would make a U-turn on this side. See this little weld mark here? This is the bottom segment. So it comes all the way across and out the bottom. So 3 passes all the way across, which means you're getting like optimizing water saturation on the coils. Another cool thing is we use a different size cooling fins. They're thinner than others, but because of that we get 17% more surface area for cooling. So triple pass, triple thick, and 17% more. And what I like about the Fox radiator, you see this old-fashioned radiator cap. I just detest the radiator caps in these new cars. They say they're 17 pounds, but they don't work. And if anybody has found a high-pressure cap for the SN95, F197s and 550s, please let me know. I'd love to find it. Because when we run the standard radiator with a standard cap, we'll use at least a 27-pound radiator cap. A lot of the race guys will use like a 32-pound or 34-pound. I can't remember which. Why do I use such a high pressure? Because the more pressure in the cooling system, the higher the boiling point. So because we run like a 27-pound cap, we could easily run at 220, 225, 230 water temperature with no problem, no overheating issues. And I know a lot of race cars, they like to run in that 220, 230 range because they make a lot of power. For track day guys, I really don't like to see it up that high. For a regular street car, I mean, you need to be 220 or less. 210 would be perfect. Anyway, with a pressurized radiator cap, you can really get the water hot, and it's not gonna be a problem.
All right, there we go, folks. So you heard it straight from Kenny, and I think we have Rich, who's back in the studio now, and he's waiting on us.
There we go.
So this week we've got the triple pass 3-core radiators came in for the Fox bodies. We have our build coming in end of the month for for Brian's car. Carrie's talked about it, and so we needed a triple pass radiator for his car for the additional cooling. The advantage of the triple pass is even over Ford's best radiators, we're still able to get a 21 to 22 degree temperature drop in doing the triple pass, because it actually presents the water to the air 3 times. And so consequently, it gives it much better cooling. The points that really distinguishes is where the seams are, and you'll see the weld points on the tanks. And that's where the water, as Ken put it, makes a U-turn and goes back across through the air. Normally, it comes in one side, goes out the other, and then you can, that's how you get your cooling. But ours, it actually circulates 3 times across the airstream, and then that way it adds additional cooling for it. The reason for doing triple, because we've been asked about double pass versus doing a triple, is it retains its stock locations as far as the inlet and also the return for the water. And so that's the important piece. We do race applications, which would be a dual pass, but those requires us to move the water lines, the return line from stock location. So this is a drop-in, bolt-in, and works very well as far as in the stock configuration.
All right. So there you go, folks. Let's see if we can get Carrie back on here as well. Yep, Carrie, you're on. One quick thing. It's Speed Weeks in Daytona, and I want to give a shout out to the Ford Performance guys over here, wherever you are over here. They had a good win on Thursday at the duels, and we're wishing all the Ford teams who are being powered by Roush Yates engines the best of luck this weekend. I did find one thing, if I can, real quick, Carrie. I wanted to show everybody. I've ran across this website called motorsportstvschedule.com. And I just wanted to show everybody really quick. This is a cool little online tool. You can just go to racingtvschedule.com. And it basically lays out the TV schedule for all motorsports on all networks, including YouTube, for the entire week. And so I thought that was cool. I'll stop sharing that now. So that's my one internet find for the week that I'm going to share. I have been stockpiling several other internet finds that I'll share with you guys at some point. But there's one more thing real quick that I wanted to share, because we're talking about the Kenny Brown lithographs, and all of Kenny's artwork, or the largest majority of it, was done by a gentleman named Jim Girdham, who owns a company called Design Factory. And I'll show you the website. Let's see, I've got it up here on my screen. And so this is the Design Factory website. It's designfactoryart.com. And Jim has done countless renderings for Kenny. Did countless renderings for Kenny in the past. Those, the ones that you saw that Carrie showed earlier, those are just examples. He is a brilliant artist. He loves the Mustang. He loves Ford vehicles. You can go and see all of his different art prints. You can purchase his art prints right through his website. So I'll put a link up if I can find it. Actually, I'll share a link with everybody in the comments. So if you want to visit that later, you can. So there you go, Carrie. I think I'm done with my housekeeping, and you can move along from there.
So I used to do the housekeeping. Now I can blame you for the boring stuff. But anyway, I wanted to talk a little bit before we get to Donald Farr. I want to talk a little bit about these concept drawings. As you see, I have them in the background. Those actually are signed by the artist and by Kenny. These latest ones, Kenny didn't sign these, but this is signed by the artist, and it's an actual print, and it's sealed in this plastic, so I don't really want to take it out. But this is his race car version. And Kenny and Jim always got together, and Kenny would tell Jim what he wanted and produce it. We did a lot of these for the SEMA cars, and this was Kenny's S550. This, you can get these prints on our website as well if you're interested in them. But one lucky winner, if you're just joining us, one lucky winner, this is our weekly giveaway, is one of these prints. So what you need to do is put in the comments, you need to put Kenny Brown S550, and at the end of the show, we're going to have a Donald Farr choose the lucky winner. So if you want to win one of these prints, put S550 in the comments. And it looks like we have lots of people joining us. Jeff Lucino is here. If you were here 2 weeks ago, Jeff was on, and he did a great job for us. Bob Jones is here. We also have Jorge and Bill Haney. Yay, we're glad to see you. I did see Joe Johnson, he's one of our Speed Therapy Academy people. Tom Nelson, another Speed Therapy Academy person. Wow, lots of people here today. And we have Peter Sigwart. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. And he is from Rockwell, Texas. So we're happy to see you here today as well. So let us, Greg Brown and Dylan Hawkins is here as well. So let me get on with introducing Donald. He is just an incredible goat is what I call him. Greatest of all times. He trained many of the editors that were out there. He's written numerous books. He's been a writer, an editor, and an executive editor over a number of magazines. He's going to tell us all about what he did. He also has a number of lifetime appreciation award from Ford. He also has received a lifetime appreciation from Ford and also from Lee Iacocca Award in 2012. He's been inducted into the Mustang Hall of Fame and just in 2012 and the Mustang Owners Museum Hall of Fame in 2021. So he is, let's give a great round of applause for Donald. I want you to join us, Donald, if you can. Rich? Let's see, I will add you. There we go. Okay. Hello. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you? Thank you for that.
Pretty darn.
Thank you for that introduction. You did some research.
Yes, I did. I did do some research. Well, I'm one of your biggest fans. I don't know if I can be your biggest fan because you have so many fans out there. If I'm going to have you tell a little bit about what you did. How did you get started in the Mustang publication business?
Well, I have to go back to probably '66 was what I call my Mustang connection. What connected me to Mustang more than any other car is when my grandfather bought a '66 GT hardtop. And I remember coming home from school that day and getting off the school bus and seeing it sitting in his driveway and, going over there thinking somebody was visiting him, but found out that he had bought it. And it was like he and my grandmother became like celebrities in our little neighborhood in the rural part of South Carolina because they were probably in their early 60s and they were driving a Mustang, a bright orange Mustang, by the way.
Wow.
And, a GT to boot, and I was probably 13 at the time, and I wanted to go everywhere with them because I wanted to be seen in that Mustang. From then on, it was a Mustang connection to me. And when my parents decided to get me a car because I was using their Mercury Monterey for playing in bands and playing in the high school band and dating and hanging out with the guys at the Little Mint and all that stuff, they didn't have a car on the weekends, so they decided to buy me a car. And my dad started out. He was going to buy me a used car, but then he couldn't pull the trigger on that because he always said a used car is somebody else's problem.
That's for sure.
Yeah, so we went to the local Ford dealership. The 71s had just come out. I was a senior in high school, and my dad knew that there were probably some leftover 70s sitting in the back of the lot that he could get a deal on. And sure enough, there was a little yellow Mustang back there. It's 1970 fastback. That he wheeled and dealed and got it for me. And
wow, you're a lucky guy. My goodness.
I was lucky. I was, and it was all because I stayed so busy that they didn't have a car to drive on the weekends. But it had this black stripe on it. Mustang people will recognize the Boss 302 stripe. It was very similar to a Boss 302 stripe, but it started on the door. It turned out it was a dealer add-on to help dress up plain fastbacks. And first day I took it to school, I was so proud of it. And somebody asked me if it was a Boss 302. And I had no idea what a Boss 302 was. But from that point on, I found out, and I always wanted a Boss 302 from then on. And I hopped up that little Mustang and tried to make it as much as a Boss. It had a 302 two-barrel in it, so wasn't that fast. But in '74, I traded it for a Boss 302, a used Boss 302, and that led me to the Shelby American Automobile Club, and that got me involved with knowing other people who owned Mustangs, who had the same passion about Mustangs that I was gaining, and through the Shelby Club, about the same time I started dabbling in photography.
Okay.
And I went to one of the Shelby meets down in Georgia, and the guy who was putting it on saw me with a camera 35 millimeter camera and asked me to take pictures for him for the Mark, which was then the Shelby American Automobile Club magazine. And I sent him the pictures, and they showed up in the Mark, and I saw my name in the magazine, and so that was like, I like that, and just kept taking pictures, and through that I met Austin Craig.
Okay, we all know Austin Craig. Okay.
Austin was president of the Shelby American Automobile Club at the time, and he encouraged me to in my photography. Gave me a column called the Boss 302 Connection, and that kind of got me started writing about cars, and put a couple of my pictures on the cover, which was, you know, just a thrill for me.
Mm-hmm.
Through that, and I got some confidence, you know, in writing and my photography. And when I heard about a magazine and coming out of Lakeland, Florida, it was a brand new magazine by a guy named Larry Dobbs, who started a magazine called Mustang Monthly. And he
How many of you out there remember Mustang Monthly?
yeah, you know, RIP for it now, but had a long successful run. But anyway, Larry was asking if people would submit photos and stories for the magazine, and I contacted him and started doing that. And a couple of years later, he had grown the company because he also sold apparel and decals. And Mustang Supply Company was his main gig, and then he kind of had the Mustang Monthly on the side, which is helped him promote his own products. But it was getting popular. He was picking up subscribers every month, and so he saw that editorial was very important to the magazine, and he didn't have time to do both the magazine and run his company. So he asked if I would be interested in moving to Florida and becoming editor of Mustang Monthly. That would have been in early 1980.
Wow. How long have you been? Yeah, you've been in Florida. Where did you originally grow up?
I grew up in a little town, Union, South Carolina, which is just a little southeast of Spartanburg.
Okay. Okay. Here, I thought you were a Florida native. I should have known better.
Yes.
So that's very interesting. It sounds like you were in the right place at the right time, and you had the initiative to do what was needed at that time to write some stories.
Yeah, I was working at my dad's speed store at the time, and certainly my initiative was to not have to go in and work 10 hours a day with grumpy old farmers and throwing around 100-pound bags of fertilizer when I weighed 120.
Wow. I have a question for you. So I know that you you're an accomplished bass player as well. So what was your passion? I mean, obviously it sounds like journalism just kind of not really fell in your lap because you worked for it, but was that your passion, or did you want to be a musician, a photographer? What did you want to do with your career?
Yeah, early on, well, two things happened in early 1964 that have affected me for the rest of my life. In February 64, the Beatles arrived and weren't at Sullivan. And then that made me want to drop piano lessons and play guitar. And 2 months later, the Mustang came out. And so those 2 months, two things happened that I'm still involved in Mustangs, and I'm still involved in playing guitar, bass guitar in bands. So initially, I played in garage bands and played all through high school in bands, and then I got that first Mustang, and I kind of put the bass guitar aside and followed my car passion for some 30 years. But about 20 years ago, my son wanted to play guitar, and I said, well, maybe I'll start playing again too, and that led me right back to the bass guitar and playing in bands around Lakeland, and now I play a lot of weekends with a lot of different bands. It's a lot of fun. It keeps me active.
That's so cool. And I know you seem like you've kind of lived a privileged life. I mean, you're working your passions. You have a beautiful, wonderful wife, Pam, and you're playing bass one of your passions as well. I mean, my goodness.
Yeah, I've been lucky. I just somehow when I found a passion, you'd run into a wall at first with cars. I thought I wanted to be a mechanic, and then I figured out I didn't have the aptitude for that. And then I actually talked to a guy about working at his parts store, and then I found out about all the numbers you had to know, and I was not good at math. So I finally I stumbled into photography and writing, and it worked.
That's cool. Well, you've done a wonderful job, and I know you have I'm just an incredible career. You didn't just work for Mustang Monthly. Do you want to just kind of give us a little bit of a career path from, when you started with Dobbs Publishing and where you are today? Because I know you've written many books. You've, been editor, executive editor, and you've mentored a lot of the editors that are out there right now. So, I mean, you are the GOAT. So,
Don't know about that, but
yes.
Tom Brady gets the title. Yeah, Larry hired me in 1980. We moved here in August. We waited on our son Matthew to be born till I moved down. And one of the first things we did, I didn't realize at the time when I joined Larry how tight the money situation was. He had taken out a second mortgage to start the magazine, and
Wow.
he was trying to make his passion work. He was entrepreneurial, and he was working on an idea that he had about a book called How to Restore Your Mustang. And I didn't realize when I came down there, I thought I was just going to be writing and doing photography. I didn't know I was going to be in and out, going up to a shop and helping restore a Mustang. But we did. I was taking pictures and cleaning valve covers and all that at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And that book was very successful. It was, I think it went to the top of Motor Books
Wow.
bestseller list, and that helped us along a lot. And he also, I remember him gambling on a 2/3 page black and white ad for Hot Rod magazine. I forget now, it was $5,000. That was a lot of money back then.
Yeah, definitely.
But that was back in the days when Hot Rod had 1 million circulation too.
Right.
And that ad brought in a lot of money. I just remember Larry went to the post office one day, and the lady said, "Sir, you're getting so much mail. You're going to have to come around here and get this bag." It had a bag of subscriptions.
Wow.
And that really helped kickstart the company. And Larry had bigger ideas. We started a magazine called Car Review, which became Muscle Car Review. Later on, we bought Super Ford, started Corvette Fever, started Mopar Muscle, started Chevy Action. I think we had 10 magazines at some point. Backing up a little bit, I did my first book. We did How to Restore Your Mustang, and then we did the Mustang Recognition Guide. And I mentioned to Larry, my passion was always Boss 302s. That's what got me into the hobby. And I said, well, I'd like to do a book on Boss 302s. And he backed me up, So I did my first Boss 302 book. And
is this it right here?
That's
it just disappeared.
Version of it. That's a later version of it.
Okay.
I think Brad had found a picture of it, of the first one, but so that's kind of my book involvement to that point. And I hung in with.
There it is.
Well, that's How to Restore. Yeah, that's a later version where they changed the cover a little bit, but the same book.
There we go. Mustang Pouch. There's another one.
So, like a special newsstand magazine that we did. And that's my Mustang on the cover. We used it.
Really?
We used it a lot just because it was available.
Exactly.
And it was red. But we grew the company. Larry eventually asked me to be editorial director for the company, but I always stayed involved in mainly the Ford-based magazines.
Yeah,
Um,
and all these are the Mustang, the books you wrote. I mean, it's just incredible. You're prolific in the Mustang market. I mean, that's just incredible. And you said, I think, Brad, didn't you find one on eBay, one of the books? Or maybe one of his books. A lot of your books are out of circulation right now. Is that correct?
yeah, pretty much all of them are out of print
Okay.
now. The story on that was I'll give John Clore. Do you know John Clore?
Yes.
Most people, everybody knows John
Yes.
at Ford Performance. But John, this would have been 2010, 2011. John knew I was coming to Detroit, and he asked if I would meet him for dinner one night, and I did. And he said, "Well, I'm going to tell you something you can't tell anybody else. Ford's coming out with a new Boss 302, and I wanted to talk to you because I'm inside Ford. They had asked if I would write the launch book for what would be the 2012 Boss 302." And he said, "I got to doing research, and it looks like you've already written it, talking about my old book, because they wanted to include the history of the old car." So he kind of threw it to me, which I appreciate so much, because that has done so much for my career in the last 10 years as far as books. And so I wrote the launch book for the 2012 Boss 302, which put me in touch with or connected me to Motorbooks. So when Motorbooks wanted to do a 50th anniversary book for the Mustang in 2014, they came to me, and I got to write. That was a great honor to be able to write that book, the history of the Mustang, 50th anniversary. And I still have to pinch myself that they asked me to do that. So kudos to John. Thank you, John.
Yeah, I think we need to have John Clore on. He would be fun too.
Yes.
So he's just, if anybody doesn't know him, he worked for Ford for years, Ford Performance. And who else I mean, he's always kind of been in with the performance group.
He worked at Auto Week for a while. And he was
that's right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then he was with SVT. He's got a lot of great stories about his time with SVT and John Coletti and all that.
I know you have a lot of good stories, so I want you to share a couple with us if you know. But let me first ask you about Kenny. When do you remember the first time you met Kenny or did a story on him?
I remember. I most certainly remember the first time I met Kenny. We didn't really get to interact very much, but it was Halloween 1987. Mustang Monthly editor Tom Corcoran. I was doing Super Ford at the time. He and I went down to Sebring because Celine was in the final race of the 1987 showroom stop season, and Steve, we had gotten to know Steve, and he said, "Hey, we're going to be down racing down the road. Do you guys want to come down?" So we went down, and I remember running into Steve. We were at Sebring. You got the pits, we're up on the second level. Part of it was for the observing. And so I remember going up the steps, and Steve was coming down, and he saw us, and he said hello, and I could tell he was tense. He was nervous and tense, and so was everybody else in the Saline pits. I think Liz introduced me to Kenny, but again, we went down just to see the race. We didn't realize what was at stake at that race. They were just a few points behind in the season championship. Needed a finish. They needed to finish ahead of a Firebird, I think, was to win the championship. So the race started, and as the evening went on, somebody told me more about what was at stake, and it came down toward the end of the race. They had a chance and to win, and they also ended up last lap, one of the Celines, driven by the two ladies. I can't recall their names right now, but he had two
And
women
Lisa.
drivers.
Mhm.
Lisa and was one of them. But
Yeah.
one of them was in second place and gaining on the first place car. And on the last turn, which you could see from the observation point, she passed to win the race. And I was standing behind Liz and Kenny and the whole team as they watched their car come across in first place, and they all stayed here. And I sent Brad a picture. It was right at the moment that they were coming
I
around.
want you to throw that picture up again if you can. That explains the picture then. I don't think, besides Kenny, and you know, Kenny was a man of few words sometimes. I don't think I ever heard that story before. That somebody there witnessing that, Donald. That is
Yeah,
that's a dark moment.
That's Liz in the white.
Mm-hmm.
Liz Celine, and you can see she's got her hands up by her head because they know if their car could come around that turn in first.
Mm-hmm.
And that is Kenny just right behind her on the right.
Right.
You know, I looked at all the pictures and like somebody was always in front of Kenny. But that was my first time meeting Kenny.
Okay. That's cool. Well, I know that you have other stories about Kenny, but I remember the first time I met you. It was, I think it was at the SEMA show in maybe 91, 92, I'm thinking. That was my first experience at the SEMA show, and we were going up to meet you. You were talking to somebody else, and Kenny said, well, this is Donald Farr. He is just like, you know, an editor, and he's wonderful. He's, you know, I think were you doing Superford at that time?
I would have been involved in Superford, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, we went up and met you, and I remember your hair was just so curly. I mean, it wasn't stylish for the time, but I remember you had this whole big head of curly hair.
Yeah, I was somehow blessed. I still have hair, at least.
Yeah, that's correct. I used to find Kenny, he had a little bald spot right on the back of his head, and I used to find him like at trade shows or anything. I just looked for the bald spot, and then I would find him. So.
Yeah, I'm getting one of those too, but don't tell anybody.
Okay, you're not going to show it off, right?
No.
So that's cool. Do you have any other stories of Kenny that you want to share, or?
Yeah, I remember, and I have the magazine. I found the magazine.
Did you?
This was in 97, I believe. The Extreme GT project, which was thanks to our friend Austin Craig. You know, Austin had gone on to, after the Shelby Club, he had gone to work with J. Walter Thompson, which was Ford's advertising agency, and moved to Detroit. And Austin was so good at putting together packages with his clients. And one of his clients was BASF. He was a big fan of Kenny. Of course, Ford and Ford Racing at the time, I believe, were part of his promotional activities. And at that time, you'll recall that the 4.6 liter engine, 2-valve, 4-valve, was in the Mustang. They had replaced the 5 liter, which had been so popular. So Ford was really pushing the 4.6 liter engine in the 96, 97 Mustang. So Austin came up with a program where Ford would provide a dollar car, send it down to Kenny for Kenny's modifications. BASF would supply their extreme paint, which was kind of like a Misty Chrome. You know,
I remember that.
50 colors, and we would cover the whole project in Superford. And I know I made at least 2, maybe 3 visits to see you guys. And there, I got to know Brad much better, and you know, got to know a lot more about Kenny Brown and Kenny Brown performance. It's just by being there. And I remember Kenny and you, Carrie, and Brad, you were all so busy, but and I would just be out in the shop taking pictures of brakes being installed or suspension components and that sort of thing. And but Kenny, every one of my trips, Kenny would make sure that he took me to lunch one day. And Terry, you could probably name the restaurant.
Yes, it's Union Jacks. If anybody is from the Indianapolis area or attends the Indianapolis 500, anything at IMS, Union Jacks is a racer's paradise. All the racers used to hang out there. It was called the Wind Tunnel of Rumors. So you remember that, all the paintings, and they had a huge helmet collection there. Yeah, it was a really historic place. So yeah, so that's where it would take you. Yeah.
And Donald, what was your favorite? What did you love to eat at Union Jacks? What was your favorite?
There was a chicken sandwich there that I really, really liked, and Kenny caught on to that. And later that year, it was my birthday, and I'm at the office down here in Lakeland, Florida, and FedEx shows up with a box, and opened the box, and there's a styrofoam cooler in there, and I opened the styrofoam cooler. It's filled with dry ice, and there's a to-go box with my sandwich.
Oh.
From Kenny Brown. That was a highlight of my career, was getting a chicken sandwich from Kenny and Union Jacks.
Yeah, he would have that plan for a long time. He's, I'm going to get this sandwich. And I know I was involved with it. I probably wouldn't have picked it up. But he was so excited for you to get that. And it was just kind of like just a kind of Kenny's dry sense of humor. So.
Yeah, it was a wonderful birthday gift.
I bet you never received restaurant quality food in the mail like that before.
As a matter of fact, not before or since. I bet that.
Oh, that's so cool. That is awesome. And so I know that, I don't know if we want to, Brad, I think we kind of skipped over that one of his books. Do you want to go through some of your books that you did? Well, I don't think we've really heard, you went from Mustang Monthly, you did Super Ford, then you were the editor, executive editor of all the magazines under Dobbs. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. And then 99, Larry sold the company to Peterson.
Mm-hmm.
It was, it was always a dream of mine to work for a company like Peterson. I didn't know it was going to come about that way.
Mm-hmm.
So they moved me to Mustang and Forge magazine, and I did that. And then I left for a couple of years. I went to a new website venture called Mustang Weekly, which was probably ahead of its time. It didn't. That was before. It was back when you had to do dial up, and videos would load so slow, and we were trying to do videos, and just didn't pay. Like I said, it was probably too early for its time. But so I ended up going back. I had an opportunity to return to Mustang Monthly. It would have been around 2003, and so I did Mustang Monthly again from 2003 until, and we got bought, Prime Media and EMAP, and later, I think I left before Discovery, but so it was I did Mustang Monthly until 2014, and whoever owned us at the time had decided to, didn't know it, that they were in the process of closing. We had moved to Tampa, and they were in the process of closing the Tampa office, and they let all the editors go just in one fell swoop. And so I ended up, first time I've ever been let go from a job in my life. And it was, it was a sad day, a shocking day. But then I got a phone call that afternoon, and it was from one of the board of directors on the Mustang Club of America, who said, our editor, Mary Jean Wesche, a lot of people will know Mary Jean.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and she's retiring, and maybe you would fit. And I mean, Mary Jean was doing the magazine from an office in Lakeland. How good was that?
Exactly.
And the gentleman who owned the media group, Brian Pate, we talked a few days later, and we worked it out where I would join Pate Media Group, which is contracted to do Mustang Times for the Mustang Club of America. and that's what I've been doing ever since. But back to the books. That started with Motor Books asking me to, or John Clore asking me to do the remake of the Boss 302 book and the launch book for the new Boss 302. And through that, I got to know the people at Motor Books, and they asked me to do the 50th anniversary book. I don't remember the progression, but I did a book called Art of the Mustang, which featured light painted photography. I did a Ford and Mercury muscle car book, which was really fun. Got me into Galaxies and Fairlanes and some of the other cars that I remember when I was growing up. An interesting one they asked me to do was called Mustang Speed Read. Part of the series they did Porsches and Corvettes and all that. But it was really like if somebody just got into Mustangs and they kind of wanted to know everything about Mustangs without having to read a great big history book, that was it. Speed Read. That was a lot of fun. They used illustrations and everything from Lee Iacocca all the way up to the latest Mustang. So that was an interesting one to put together. Great for kids, by the way. If you got here again, I think it's out of print and out of stock, so I can't promote it too heavily unless you can find one on eBay. But yeah, I had a great time doing the book projects. Oh, and there's
yeah, and I found it pretty interesting that one of your books on eBay is selling. What book was that, Brad? For $150. So you talk about the man here. I mean,
Yeah, let me find it again real quick. I was surprised. A lot of Donald's books are out there for sale if you just go to eBay or you go to Amazon. Also, one of our viewers today, Eris, he posted up an early Boss book example that was on Barnes and Noble. So if you're viewing, he's on the Kenny Brown Facebook page. He did post a link to the Barnes and Noble page where they have the Boss Mustang book available. But I'll show you. I did find. Well, actually, I'll have to go back and locate it. But there was a book for sale, and so here it is right here. I'll show it to you. It's signed by Parnelli Jones, or I think it's signed by Parnelli Jones and Donald as well. Here we go. And so here's a copy of, here's a link to it on eBay. It's currently at $195. There's a picture of Parnelli signing the book right there. And so that's it right there. Pretty cool.
Yeah. Now I know who that is. That's my buddy John Schultz from Southern California. He bought some books from me and knew Parnelli, who's also in Southern California. So I signed them, and then he took them over to Parnelli to sign. So that's to have both signatures is significant. But I don't really get my name Parnelli, but.
Yeah, John's a really cool guy. He runs a Mustang club, I think, down in Southern California. Is that right?
Yeah, Beach City Mustang Club.
Okay, yeah. So he's a cool.
Okay, I just received something from Rich on the Speed Read Mustang. It's in paperback and it's still available. It's in stock, and I'm trying to figure out where this is on. It's on Amazon. So you can still get that book, Donald. And I might get that for my kids, for my grandkids. I think that'd be great.
Yeah, so just little snippets of Mustang history and tells the story.
Mm-hmm. So that is just awesome. I love that. And the other thing is you've received so many awards throughout the years too. I mean, this just tells about your character and how accomplished you are. I mean, so first of all, the first award you got was from Ford? Is that correct?
Yeah, that was, and all this also means I'm old. I've been around a long time. Yeah, they surprised me out at the Mid America Shelby meet. I guess it was around 2011 with a Lifetime Achievement Award
That's incredible.
from Ford, which was a Mustang Lifetime Achievement. It was tied into Mustang and Team Mustang. It was from Team Mustang, so
Okay.
that was really cool. That same year, up at it used to be National Park Depot. They used to put on a show up at Silver Springs here in Florida, and they surprised me at the award presentation. In fact, Rick Schmidt from National Parks Depot he knew I would kind of sneak out on Sundays and head back home, and he said, "I need you to stick around for the awards." And he gave me he presented me with the Lee Iacocca award. So that was special. And later that year, the Mustang Club of America invited me into their Hall of Fame. So all those three things happened in the same year, which was remarkable.
Yeah.
And I appreciate the recognition.
Well, you deserve it. Like I said, you're the Mustang, you're a goat in the Mustang community. So I have something, I want to just take a break for a moment. We're going to be, if you have any questions for Donald, please put them in the chat. And also, why don't we give him some thumbs up or comments, just to let him know how much you're enjoying this show with him. And I wanted to also take a break because we are going to be giving away our weekly Cars and Coffee giveaway, and you will be, let me put myself on full screen here. There we go. So we will be giving away one of these. This is Kenny Brown's S550 concept car. This is his street car. And then here is the race car. And these were drawn by Jim Gurton. Kenny worked with Jim Gurton quite a bit. They are signed by Jim and numbered, so they are prints. And you can, if you don't win it, you can also order it on our website. But all you need to do in the comments is put Kenny Brown S550. And then at the end of the program, we're going to have Donald pick the winner. So we'll be going for that. Donald, I have a couple more questions for you. So can you tell me a little bit about the Mustang Club of America? I know we have a big 60th anniversary event coming up.
Yes, we do. And the Mustang Club of America recently announced that they will be holding the 60th anniversary celebration at Barber Motorsport Park near Birmingham, Alabama. Some people remember some other anniversary events there.
It's a 45th, I think.
I believe so. I believe the 45th Mustang anniversary there. A Mustang Club of America anniversary was there. Beautiful track, beautiful facility for a car show, as well as open track, which they'll be having there. And I believe it's the first weekend in April of next year, 2024.
Okay, so right around the Mustang Day then. So
yeah, I've got to assume that maybe the actual anniversary, it'll be like the weekend before the anniversary.
Okay.
But the track may already have an event. I don't. But it's still close enough.
Yeah, that's for sure. I have one more question for you about the 650 and what do you think about the 650 and where the Mustang is heading? Do you have any comments on that?
Well, I'm glad to see it's still with us. Glad to see that it's still got a V8 and gasoline powered V8, I should say too. More horsepower than ever for the GT. The Dark Horse even has more power. I found it interesting. I was invited up to the introduction in Detroit, and I found it interesting how they seem to be moving Mustang more toward the future than toward us old guys. Instead of using one of the old names, Mark Warner Boss, they come up with a new name, Dark Horse, for their really high performance model. And during the whole introduction, the music was modern. I didn't hear Mustang Sally once and all of that. So they're trying to move to a new generation, and that's what they've got to do. They've got to get another generation of Mustang buyers out there. Even though those of us who grew up with the Mustang are still going to buy it, they're moving toward the future.
Yeah, it's just, I'm happy they're moving on, and that it is, gas powered for a while longer. So, Brad, do you have any questions right now?
No, I can't think of any. We did have one question from a viewer, a gentleman named Peter Sigwart. He asked, I believe, this question to you, Donald. What happened to your original Boss Mustang?
Well, gosh, I bought that off a used car lot in '74, and then I can show you. While you kind of had me off screen there, I found the copy of my original Boss 302 book, which the blue car was my car. That was my Boss 302, and I sold it in I want to say '86 or so. Down here in Florida, you couldn't get air conditioning on Boss 302s, and it was always so hot. I didn't drive it very much, and I ended up selling it to my buddy Tom Mack, who I went to high school with up in South Carolina. Now he does auctions and sells classic cars, but it bounced around. It went to Jackie Jones up in North Carolina. Many people know him as a collector. He had it for a while, and then a gentleman up, I believe in Indiana, purchased it, and I saw it at the Ford 100th anniversary. He had it there. Now, I think that's the last time I saw it, but his son has it now. So I looking back, I wish I hadn't sold it, especially after I went to Mecum a few weeks ago and saw what Boss 302s are selling for.
Yeah, Jeff Lacina, who's joining us today from Motorsport Park Hastings in Hastings, Nebraska. He says, Donald, do you currently own a Mustang?
I have two. I have my daily driver's a 17 EcoBoost in Grabber Blue, like my original Boss 302. And I have the 66 Mustang GT that my grandfather bought new.
Wow.
Yeah. I was able to, well, my grandparents had it for about a year, and my grandmother she would always back then say that the bucket seats in the Mustang were the most comfortable seats she ever sat in. She had a back problem, and but getting in and out of that low car was so hard on her that they finally traded it for a '67 Fairlane. But the car stayed in my hometown of Union, South Carolina. I remember one gentleman who owned it would back it up to my dad's feed store so I could put chicken feed in it, and it just stayed there. After we moved to Florida, I would go back to visit. I would see it around town, and I believe it was in 81 that Tom Mack, the guy who bought my Boss 302 later, called me one day and said that he knew the history of the car, and he said, your grandfather's old Mustang is for sale. Would you like for me to buy it and hold it till you can come get it? And that's what we did. And so in 81, I went and got it, barely made it back to Florida, started skipping in Orlando, locked up when I parked it in the parking lot at the office, and never cranked again. We had to put another engine in it, but fixed it up a little bit, put a Fred Jones remanufactured engine in it, just drove it around. My kids drove it when they were in high school. And but about 10 years ago, I had it pretty much completely gone through. Didn't turn it into a concourse car or anything, but made it look good and drive good and crank and run, and taking it to the Mustang show next weekend. So really great to have that car, because I remember riding in it with my grandfather and him smiling when he would floor it and accelerate. And it's a great memory for me. And so fortunate to have it in my garage.
I am just kind of figuring out how many people already signed up for the to win the weekly sweepstakes. I don't know if it's a sweepstakes. But have you counted them?
I came up with 16 people, I think, total so far.
Yes, I did too. One of the issues we're having, and probably the next week when we do a weekly giveaway, is we're getting a lot of Facebook users. So you're entering, but we don't know what your name is. Brad, do you want to kind of go over that again, what Facebook is doing and what they need to do to have their name show up? So they can win?
Yeah, so if you're viewing on the Kenny Brown Speed Therapy Society Facebook group page, we are not able to see your name when you leave a comment in the comment section. So what we see in the broadcast studio is just Facebook user with a blank icon. And so we don't know who you are. There is a way to give special permission to Facebook to allow them to show us what your name is, but it's rather difficult to do that. So in the future, we will continue to broadcast on the group page, but we, at the beginning of each show, will encourage everybody to switch and view on the regular Kenny Brown Facebook page, or to switch over to YouTube and view the show there. That way, when you leave a comment, we will be able to see who you are. And Peter, we will enter you into the contest. You're number 17. Okay, Carrie.
Okay, so we have one last opportunity if you want to enter the contest to win the Kenny Brown signed print, not by Kenny Brown, but the Kenny Brown S550 print. Enter your Kenny Brown S550, and once you put your name there in case you have not registered with Facebook. And then we have a couple more questions, I think, Brad, but you were asking questions, so I don't want to ask over you. And then we'll have Donald choose the number.
Yeah, I did not have any other questions from viewers, not that I can see. I'll go back through
Do
real
you
quick.
do you currently own a Mustang, as was Jeff Lucina's question? And
Yeah.
then what is your favorite music to play? Did you answer both those questions? Sorry, I was busy counting my names. Have you answered those?
I haven't answered the one about music.
Okay, that would be really interesting to know.
It's a little off Mustang topic, but kind of funny, you know, growing up, my music, Beatles and Rolling Stones and Motown and Carolina Beach music is what I loved. And I did not like country music. You know, George Jones, Tammy Wynette, I just thought that was hick music, you know. But since I've been playing, I seem to have landed playing a lot of country music. Some of it's the older stuff, some of it's the newer stuff. My regular band is kind of a country band, but we do some Tom Petty and all that too. But over the years, I've been really fortunate to get to know a gentleman here from Polk County, Florida, named John Cornell. John was a drummer. He went to Nashville with he and Jim Stafford drove up there together. John was a high school friend of Graham Parsons, and he played in several of Graham's bands, including when Graham was in the Byrds and Flying Burrito Brothers, International Submarine Band. And I play with John every Friday at a little coffee house here, and it's a lot of the older country. And I found that I guess I missed a lot back in the 60s, but I'm reliving it now.
That's cool. That's cool. So, someday when I'm down in the Florida area, I'm going to have to go listen to you. So I see that Pam posts things once in a while about at some of the events that you do.
Pam is my roadie.
And she's a very good roadie at that, right?
Yeah, I'm up there playing, she's out there dancing.
How did you meet Pam? Did you meet her in town or college or?
Well, I'll try to make this short. We were related not by marriage. My aunt was married to her cousin.
Okay.
I'm from Spartanburg, and we actually have a picture of us at a birthday party together when we were about 5 or 6.
Huh.
So we knew about each other, and then one of her cousins kind of hooked us up on a blind date, and we dated. And one time in Spartanburg, and I went back to college, and that summer, this would have been the summer of '72, I drove down to Myrtle Beach in my Mustang to meet up with some buddies. And we're out driving Ocean Boulevard late at night, looking for girls. You know how that is. And these 3 girls are walking on the sidewalk, and one of them was Pam. And I recognized her, and she recognized my Mustang.
That's a good sign, though. That's a good sign of a wife.
And
So
we've been together ever since. We
that's
started
cool.
dating at the beach and been together ever since. 50th,
That's cool.
50th wedding anniversary this year. So it's,
Wow. Okay. Well, that
Wow.
answers Jeff Lucina's question, how many years you've been married. So, well, that is cool. And obviously you're in the Mustang market and stuff like that, but we like to know about you too. So information about Pam is great. So don't feel bad about that. And then Eris says Pam's a keeper. So we all agree about that. We always love when we have our customers have supportive wives, because it makes life so much easier for them and more enjoyable. So
yeah, you know, when Larry Dobbs called me to move to Florida, she could have easily said, "Oh, my family's here. It's a big risk."
mhm.
She saw it as an adventure, and it stuck with me. You know, being out of town for SEMA shows and
Yeah.
Kenny Brown visits and all of that. She's and now with the Mustang Club of America, which has national shows all around the country, she tends to go with me depending on whether she's been to that city before or not.
Okay.
And we spend 2 extra days, you know, going around Tucson or Napa Valley or just, that's a great thing about the Mustang Club of America. Their national shows and are held in some great places.
Mhm.
Great places to visit.
Yeah, that's for sure. And so if you go to any National Mustang Club of America shows, make sure you look for Donald Farr. He will be there.
And I
So
will be seeing you in Indy.
yes, we will be. We're going to go out to dinner. Maybe we should go to Union Jack's.
That would
So-
be great.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Yeah.
They still have your chicken sandwich. I haven't been there for a while. So we are going to pick the winner. And Brad, how many do we have now? 18? 19? $20. So why don't you pick a number between 1 and 20?
I am going to pick the number that was on Parnelli Jones 1970 Championship Boss 302, 15.
That is so cool. Okay. And that would be Jack Sieber. Jack Sieber, you have won. I would like you to send an email or call us directly. Send to info@kennybrown.com to claim your prize and let us know which one you'd like, if you want the race version or if you would like the street version. So that's what your choice is. We need to get your address and your contact information. So send it to info@kennybrown.com. And we may already have your information too, but please send it to info@kennybrown.com and we will get this off to you. Well, it has been just a pleasure having you on here, Donald. It's
you,
been a
Carrie.
while since I've talked to you for a while. So I guess we talked about 3 or 4 months ago, but it's been a pleasure having you on. And I know everybody else has enjoyed having you too. We've had a good audience here listening to you and taking notes on what you're saying. So anyway, Brad, do you have any other closing comments? Or
No, I don't.
how about you, Donald?
Oh, just thank you for having me on. Thank you, everybody, for coming on to listen to my ramblings about my history. It's been a long, fun ride. Still doing it though.
Yep, you are. You're still doing it. You're staying busy. And then
check in with the Mustang Club of America, and Mustang Times is, I guess really it's the last of the print magazines. We're still doing print magazines.
Yeah, it is. It's great. And you've done like a number of stories on Kenny Brown cars, and you did a wonderful tribute to Kenny. And I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. That was
Oh, I miss
wonderful. It was
Kenny.
heartfelt. So,
He was one of my
yeah.
good friends. And
yeah, I know. I know. Well, he was one of my good friends too, believe it or not.
Donald, they are, we have this thing in Daytona that's been happening for the past few years. It's called Mustangs at Daytona, I believe.
Yes. Familiar with it,
So-
yes.
Yeah, so they traditionally have done it at the Harley Davidson complex, Destination Daytona, which is actually in Ormond Beach. But this year they've moved, or they are moving to the Daytona International Speedway. So I don't know if that's something you're planning on coming over for that. Be sure to reach out to me so we can go to dinner.
Oh, okay. Yeah, if you're there, I'll try to make it, as long as I don't have any band gigs.
Yeah, I know that last year, we're sort of a quasi-sponsor of that event, but last year Steve Turner was here, and we also saw Michael Acosta was here as well. With his, he's got a new GT 500, I think, that he just bought. So we saw several old friends from the Tampa office. And so if you're planning on coming this year, I'd love to get together with you. I'm sure I'll be there both days.
Okay, well, that gives me an incentive to come over, to get to hang out with you a bit.
Yeah.
And we just one more comment. We have Eris has just mentioned that get involved with the Mustang Club of America, and I was remiss not to ask this information from you, Donald. How can they get sign up? I mean, how much do you know how much the club membership is, and Mustang Times? How do they get that? Because that is a great publication. You've done wonderful things with that.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Eris. I know Eris from. He's a South Carolinian too, so we
Okay, cool.
share that. You can join the Mustang Club of America. The website is mustang.org. It's pretty easy to remember.
Uh-huh.
3 different ways, 3 different memberships. One is just your basic membership, and I believe it's $35 for a digital membership. You get the digital Mustang Times.
Okay.
And then $50 is the standard membership, which gets you the printed copy of the magazine.
Okay.
So that's a pretty good deal. You get
Yeah.
club and the discounts involved there, and go to the national shows, and you get a print magazine every month.
Yeah, I mean that's an incredible value. So I think Brad just put it up, the Mustang Club of America. He put the Mustang.org up. So if you want to check out a little bit more about Mustang Club of America or MCA, go there. And the Mustang Times is worth it. I mean, Mary Jean did a great job, and you're just continuing on that legacy and doing a great job as well. So we really appreciate what you're doing, and the Mustang Club of America. I mean, it wasn't for them, there won't be all these, groups of Mustang lovers coming together. So
yeah, the MCA has promoted, preserved the Mustang for 45 years now. I joined in '77, so I've been familiar with them for a long time, and they do a wonderful job of promoting the Mustang, old ones, new ones, and you go to their shows and you'll see some gorgeous cars.
mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, they're wonderful shows. So while we are running a little bit over, so we are going to say goodbye to you, Donald, and thank you again. And we may have you on another time if you're interested. So it was great. Many comments. I don't know if you can see the comments, but many people are thanking you and thank you for sharing your story. So
thank you all.
Okay, we will talk with you later. Take care, everybody. We'll see you next week.